She says that bug I just killed. Talk about the roach motel. Yeah, you survived the night, I see. You got enough food there, do you?
Barely.
Where the world is Vic at? I don't know where Vic's at. You think somebody killed Vic last night? Abducted him? Where are you at, man?
Man, I just have to go to the store because I got a freaking headache.
All right, we're waiting on you.
Yeah, I'm on my way. The store is like 10 minutes away. I already hit it back.
Okay. Did you bring me a coffee?
Oh, whoa.
Did you bring me a coffee back or what? I'll tell you what, if you come back here without coffee, I don't know, you're suspect at this point. Man, come on, you know you're supposed to come back with coffee. All right, see you. Okay. All right, appreciate it. Thanks. Bye-bye. Vic's on his way back with biscuits.
Huh?
He's on his way back with biscuits.
With what?
With biscuits.
Fishing.
Biscuits. Man, you're half deaf. You wearing them hearing aids this morning? You're not, are you?
They won't give me none.
He's coming back with biscuits.
Yeah.
You putting your stuff up, ain't you?
I'm sure everybody comes out here to lunch today. Be about 5,000 people. None of them Steve's. None of them want your.
You don't trust these people?
None of them forgot their damn extension cord to the house. How many liters out there?
One small one and one big one.
2 spinning reels. Well, you ready? You ready, Vic?
I got one small one and I got a duck at 7 foot and there too.
Nice. Hey now, give me a little bit of that coffee now.
Oh yeah, William.
Give me just a little hunk of that.
It tastes like water, man.
That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank
You
you.
hear me? It tastes like water.
Does it?
Yeah, I go for Lion and buy me my Cuban coffee for tomorrow.
All right. All right. We're on the move.
I don't got to sleep. I got a freaking headache.
You got a headache?
Yeah, I just got a headache. I forgot.
What do you need?
I'll buy water for bringing with me.
Man, I got a bunch of water.
Oh, baby, fine. I mean, yesterday, because I don't eat nothing, I just want to get it. I just want to finish right. I just don't know when. I just coming.
What time did you leave work?
I leave Shallow. Basically almost 5 o'clock.
I think your door's open.
I met my wife in Shallow because I'm soaking wet because we're doing pressure washer yesterday. So I don't want to go my feet soaking wet and everything. So bring me my flip flop and a clean t-shirt. How about the fishing in here? You told me you fishing here a lot.
I fished here a lot. I mean, I feel like it's the story of BFLs. I mean, it's tough, man.
Really?
Nobody's been catching much, dude. I mean, I caught.
No, time ago, I see some photos of somebody got like 20 pounds.
Well, yeah, they've been catching them in the pre-spawn, but the problem is the water's warmed up and fish are like in a haze right now.
Ese one de risa, hombre.
Not gonna hit his vehicle, is it? Go out there and back me up, man.
Yeah, we
Just hop in the boat.
He's over here raining all day.
The base of the pedal, there's a blue button.
I see you got the garment.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, forget to pull your motor stops out, did you? You do it better than me. I ain't got no keys in my boat. I tell you what. I was like, I know I put them keys in that boat.
How do you know?
I can't believe how dry my boat is this morning.
I'm not moving your boat out of the way so I can go.
I tell you what, I'll trade you a set of keys for some room. Back up, Vic. Back up. Don't let him out of here till I get my keys.
What do you think? I'll just run off your keys and leave you. You should go fish.
You'd consider it. You might run a mile or two down the lake and call me. Uh-huh.
You'll catch him? Or we can do it.
Yeah.
Mess you down.
Just take us on out that way.
No, boy!
A little bit of traffic issues here. And that seat's nice and dry. I hope your boat blows up today. So when I started practice this year, I thought I would start in the Blackwater River. And particularly this year, the lake was more stained than I had ever seen it. Talking to some of the locals, this is not uncommon in April to see this type of stained water in Smith Mountain Lake. Typically, it's a very clear lake, and I had fished some tournaments on the lake, but never this early. Not that April's particularly early, but for when I have fished, it certainly is. And I thought, well, if I can get on a stained water bite up the Blackwater River, that would suit my strengths and my style. I spend a lot of time on rivers, and I fish shallow. And I'm certainly a power fisherman over a finesse fisherman. So that's where I started. And the Blackwater River, if you look on the map, you can see in certain areas it's really windy and narrow. And it did look to fit my strengths. And I spent some time in this water power fishing. I threw spinner baits, I threw crankbaits, spinner baits with big Colorado blades, wide wobbling crankbaits, and I even spent some time throwing rattle traps. And I caught some fish, but I never really got on the quality of fish that I thought would do me any good in this tournament. I did catch one really huge catfish. I mean, it's flathead catfish that had to weigh, 25 pounds on a crankbait. That was interesting. So if you're looking to go catfishing, head up to Blackwater River. There's some big ones up there. But, I think for me, the Blackwater River is a really good option. It's just that for this tournament, it didn't work out. I spent some time, the last tournament we had a couple of years ago in May up to Blackwater, and it really worked out well for me. The water wasn't quite this dirty, but the fish were really biting. And I didn't see a whole lot of other competitors up the Blackwater, and that usually is a telltale sign as well. But I wanted to put my time in the Blackwater, and it didn't work out. I would encourage you to check out the Blackwater if you go to Smith Mountain, though. It really looks good. So from there, I transitioned down the lake, and as you can see, look at the difference in the color of the water, the clarity. I mean, it was night and day difference. Still, like a little bit of a hue on it compared to the gin clear Smith Mountain Lake water that I'm used to seeing. But, I stayed to docks, and I started fishing a little bit deeper docks. Some of these covered docks that have a lot of boats in them can be really good on Smith Mountain Lake. I took some time, and I used my Garmin, which actually allowed me to see up underneath these docks. I did see some fish under the docks, but none that I could ever get really to commit to my bait. And what I've discovered with the Garmin is, you can get sucked into 6 to 8 hours of staring at this thing. And on limited practice time, I don't know that that's really a good option. I really need to spend some more time with this Garmin unit, but I did try to use it on some of these big docks, and I could see where it would work, but it didn't pay off for me. The lake water was a little bit warmer down lake, which was surprising to me. The down lake deal really didn't work out on those covered docks, and I decided to make a move up the Roanoke River. The Roanoke River is similar to the Blackwater, except that the Roanoke actually feeds Smith Mountain Lake, and I expected it to be a little stained up there. It was not a surprise at all, and I switched things up. I went up there and I started throwing a jig, and I started fishing a lot slower. And, Vic, I'm not sure what Vic was throwing behind me. I think he was throwing a spinnerbait or a crankbait. And we just kind of took our time and pecked around up here at the Roanoke. And it's really kind of a different looking lake up the Roanoke. It's still beautiful, but it has more of that river feel to it. And I thought, well, what else can I do? And the water temperature was actually a little warmer up the Roanoke. It was probably 62, 63, vice low 60s and high 50s. And I thought the down lake would be the warmest, but the Roanoke certainly was a little warmer. And that made me feel pretty good about it. And coming up to the Roanoke, my expectation was we could catch fish. I didn't know what the quality would be, but every time I've gone up the Roanoke, I've caught a lot of fish, and I have some friends that have spent some time up here, and you always seem to catch fish up the Roanoke. But as far as winning the tournament, can you do it up the Roanoke? Maybe you can. You'd have to ask a local. But for us, we really didn't get on any quality fish up the Roanoke River at all. After I took a hard look at the Roanoke River, I decided that probably wasn't going to work for me in the tournament. And the only place I hadn't spent a lot of time is the mid-lake area. The mid-lake of Smith Mountain is kind of where the Roanoke feeds into the main lake. The water is typically very clear here. It is still deep, but it's not quite as wide as that down lake basin by the mountain. And, there's a lot of docks, there's a lot of points, there's quite a few rock. And it's not in the video, but I spent some time fishing, main points. I fished some secondary points, and I threw an Alabama rig. I threw some crankbaits. I did get some bites on an Alabama rig. That was encouraging. I caught a really nice smallmouth, close to 4 pounds doing it. And I was excited, and I thought, well, maybe this is a possibility. I also spent some time throwing finesse on docks, which is something that you can never overlook on this lake. And I also spent some time looking for bedding fish. And I did find one fish on the beds during practice. And by that I mean spawning. So I found one bass spawning during practice. And I told Vic that thing is probably going to be gone on tournament day. But it did give me an idea of what was possibly coming or happening. And I knew this time of year that was something that could never be overlooked. And I put that in kind of the back of my mind. But, you know, that's it for practice. It's kind of a wrap. And at this point, I'm not feeling that excited, but I think I can probably catch a few fish.
You ready to do this, Vic? Ready to roll. Ready to whoop it on. You gonna catch a bunch of fish today or what? We're gonna wear them out. Tell you one thing, I'll be glad to get out of this roach motel. Dude, I had bugs last night crawling around in my bed. I ain't lying to you. You know them bugs with
I hear something fail.
dude, you know them bugs with the big legs all over them that crawl around? Look, yeah, I had them things crawling on me last night. Sergeant Major, good morning. Good to see you. Good luck to you.
I'll talk to you, man.
Watch this guy now. You my co-angler? I'm Otto.
Yep. How's it going, sir?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name again?
Bobby.
Bobby. All right.
A lot of boats out here today.
Oh, yeah, it's a mess. Absolutely is a mess.
At this point, I'm ready to launch, and I'm optimistic that I can catch some fish. I don't really expect to catch a big bag of fish, but I'm confident that I can do okay in the tournament and that I'll get some bites. I did get a couple good bites in practice, but I know it's going to be tough.
Too bad they don't count.
At this point, it's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I do not have a keeper bass in the boat. The voices in my head start telling me I need to make a change, and I had the one fish that I found spawning during practice that I could go to. And I told my co-angler, we're going to make a move. I'm going to go to that bass that I found spawning, and I'm going to hope he's still there. I had a late boat number, but I had a good feeling where he was. Probably nobody had found him. And from there, that totally turned my tournament around. That decision is what made the difference.
Lost the worm. There you go. Quick and easy.
Hey, man. One in the boat anyway. One in the boat.
From there, I started running around pockets, and it wasn't long before I found another bass. And you can see I quickly boated another one here, a nice fish, probably about 3 pounds or so.
good one, right?
Yeah, sir.
So, you know, hey, two fish in the boat. We've got some time, and I start looking for them. And I broke out the old Dawn dish detergent here. For those of you that don't know, just put Dawn dish detergent in a squirt bottle, and it'll really spread that pollen out.
Clears things up a little bit, don't it?
Yeah, it does. What is it?
So this is the third bass that I've found. It's a good fish, around 4 pounds, and she is ready to eat. You know, I'm throwing my crawl in there, and she's turning on it. She's swiping at it. She's nipping the tentacles of the soft plastic bait that I'm throwing, and I know it's just a matter of time before she eats. And I eventually do end up catching this bass, and unfortunately, due to my late boat draw, I weigh in at 5 o'clock. And what that means is my GoPro ran out of SD card. So I don't actually have this fish on video, but I will talk about it some at the end of the video. And I ended up catching a really nice bag of fish, had almost 17 pounds, and it was a great tournament because of the one decision to look for spawning fish.
All right, let's see here. Bag these bad boys up. I'm gonna say 3 something. Yeah, 2.5. 5. That's a good one right there, buddy. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you, sir. Hold that right there.
Yep.
Appreciate you being here.
Five and 5.
Otto Harris from Smithsburg, North Carolina, fishing on the boater side. Got a 5 bass limit in his bag. How you doing today, buddy?
Good.
His file's gonna weigh 16 pounds, 8 ounces. Got you in 13th place today, buddy.
Awesome.
Hey, so welcome to the whiffing portion of the video. We're talking about Smith Mountain Lake, and first thing, it is a beautiful lake. I would highly recommend everyone to get up there and check it out. It's got a ton of different species in it, from smallmouth, largemouth, striper, good catfish. It's a beautiful lake to vacation in. Even in the fall when the leaves are changing color, it's absolutely beautiful. By far, you know, the prettiest lake that I've ever fished. It's really scenic. I always feel good on that lake. As far as the fishing goes for this tournament, I think what was happening is there was this transition between the fish moving up to spawn and pre-spawn. And for me, anytime the weather warms up, you know, and that water temperatures rise and those fish are on the verge of moving up, they always seem to act a little off. And that's when you see, you know, big bass. You'll see them kind of swimming around the shallows. They're not spawning. They really won't pay attention to any bait you put in front of them, and they almost act like they're dazed. And I think they are. I think it's been cold winter, particularly this year, and all of a sudden, hey, it warms up and I've got to go shallow, and it's like, wow, what's going on? And that's what was going on for a couple days in practice. We didn't catch a whole lot, and we knew that the fish were off. They really hadn't committed yet, but I did find one fish on the bed. So that's the first thing, decisions. Be prepared to scrap your plan and make a decision to go in a different direction. Fish the moment is a real thing. That's what happened to me for this tournament. I had found one fish on a bed the evening before, and I made a decision mid-morning to commit to looking for spawning fish. I went and I caught that first fish, and that gave me the confidence to start looking. Well, Otto, where do you look for beds? I will tell you, for me, I knew the obvious beds were going to be picked off, and I started looking in places that were not convenient to look. A lot of guys will just speed down the bank. They'll have the trolling motor on high. They won't take the time to go around the backside of the dock. They won't take the time to look on the other side of the log. They'll just look for the easy fish. And I will tell you, I found probably 20 beds that day that didn't have bass on them, but they were all very obvious. And also, look at a little bit deeper water. The fish were really hard to see. And that brings me to my second point, is sunglasses. Okay, sunglasses are a real thing. And what I mean by that is, what you pay for is what you get. If you go with cheap polarized sunglasses and you're in a spawning tournament, you are not going to catch as many fish. I'm not going to sit here and advertise any particular brand of sunglasses. There's some good ones out there. Pay attention to the lens colors. I do have 3 different pairs of polarized glasses that I used, and I switched them up some in this tournament once I determined which ones were better given the current lighting conditions that made me see. If it's a matter of you seeing an extra foot down than the other competitors, then you're going to catch more bass. So next, baits. What baits do you use? For me, it's that simple. I use a white crawl every time, every year. Now, sometimes I will blind class with a Cinco. If the fish is acting funny, he won't stay in the bed, I'll back off and I'll throw a Cinco. And that does work at times. But I have found just a plain white crawl with some type of bright color on it seems to be the best deal, particularly just so I can see the fish. Some guys go with green pumpkin. They like a more natural color in the bed. For me, I go with white just so I can see it, and it seems to work just fine. Another tip I will give you about Smith Mountain Lake is those fish are really spooky in that clear water. So anytime you can position yourself so you're not right over top of the fish, maybe you're off to the side, and look at kind of how those fish are orientating to the bed. If you can put yourself somewhere so he's not necessarily facing you, that works at times. Now, some of the fish I caught were super locked on. They were super aggressive, and it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter how close you got, but that is something to really think about. So Smith Mountain Lake, first of all, get up there and fish it. It's got a lot of different species in it. It's a wonderful place to fish. Second of all, be prepared to make a decision. Do not get caught up in what you did in practice and die, because that's exactly what would have happened to me if I hadn't made the decision and started running a different pattern, looking for spawning bass. 3, baits. Some type of crawl is what I recommend for spawning fish. 4, sunglasses. Get a good pair of sunglasses and look for spawning fish in places that other guys are not going to. And those are just hard to find, hard to reach areas. And look at a little bit deeper water. I mean, it was tough seeing these fish. If you didn't really take your time and look, you would not have seen some of these fish. And a couple times when I got right up on these fish, when it was overcast that day, and man, they blend in and they were really hard to see. I've done it a lot, and I kind of know what to look for. And sometimes you can only just see a part of the fish, but if you can see a part of it, that's enough. And we could probably make a 15-minute video on how to catch spawning bass. I'm not going to do that. There's a ton of them out there. All I will say to you is, patience. But don't spend too much time on a particular fish, especially in a tournament. It's easy to spend an hour on one fish. I couldn't do this in this tournament. I had probably a half a day to make it happen by the time I switched. And I was going to high percentage area to high percentage area. certain pockets, back behind docks. I was looking in a little bit deeper water. I wouldn't even look if it was, just blatantly out in the open, because I knew somebody had already probably picked those fish off, and that's exactly what happened the times I did. And I was running and gunning, and I found a lot of fish. So, hey, today is a great time to get out there in the water. It's beautiful. Today here in North Carolina, it's beautiful. In Virginia, I'd be willing to bet right now the fish in Smith Mountain Lake are wide open. You could probably go up there and catch a ton of them spawning right now. So, hey, next tournament, don't be afraid to make a change and always be positive. And the next tournament is 2 May on Kerr Lake. And I will see you guys out there. Looking forward to it. And out here.